And welcome into Making Sense. You know, a lot of times you hear the word estate. In your mind, your perception thinks this mansion sitting on 40 acres of land with horses running in the fields. Well, you know, you may have just a wonderful little house in a neighborhood. That's your estate. And you need to be taking care of it and plan for its future along with your own future. To help us today is Brandt McDonald, the proprietor extraordinaire of McDonald, Barranco, Hagen Wealth Management. You guys have had a busy time past couple of months.
Oh, it's been incredibly busy, yes. You know, the summer months are interesting.
You're supposed to get some time off.
Yeah, everyone's supposed to be vacationing and whatnot, but we've had incredible market volatility.
Yes,
there's no doubt about it. And we've been doing a lot of account reviews. You know, it seems like every year, you know, we've been very fortunate, very blessed. We have so many people who've entrusted their wealth to us, and we take pride in that. And with that, we have a communications agreement with our client that is very rare in our industry, that essentially says in writing, we pledge to meet with you at least once a year. If we haven't spoken with you in the interim, we want you to come in and sort of have that financial physical. And part of that is not only reviewing investment portfolios or reviewing balance sheet type items, but a critical overlooked area is, you know, sort of the legal structure of our client situation, and that's their estate plan, wills and trusts and so on and so forth. And so with the changing landscape like it has been over the last few years, particularly from the legislative perspective in Washington, which is probably going to only get more interesting as we move through the next few years, you know, it's critical to sort of get out in front of what we think we see coming from an estate planning perspective. And there's so many new issues today that really weren't thought about, you know, even decades ago. You know, when we sit down with our clients, one of the big concerns they have is you know, one day, you know, our children are going to get this money, and we're not so sure that our children can handle this. And it could be a few $100,000 when you take equity in a home or retirement account or cash in the bank, or it could be in the millions. And we work with every one of those types of clients and everyone in between. We have a sort of an eclectic mix of clientele, but they all have sort of the same overriding, you know, themes or issues and concerns, which is, you know, how do we protect our children and grandchildren from the world we live in today? You know, you've got divorce that's so prevalent. You've got creditor issues that are really major issues. You've got liability issues that are really even bigger today than they've ever been. And so through the use of trust, there are some really neat things that you can do to try to protect your loved ones. And people think about trust, you know, and they think, oh, this is a complex sort of almost a dirty word, you know, we're going to lock this up and no one's ever going to get their hands on it. And that's not the case. There are a whole host of really, really good trusts that are available. I think it's more of a an asset management tool that sort of streamlines your portfolio or your overall net worth. It helps you that you can avoid things like probate and some of the more onerous issues that people have to deal with when a loved one passes away. You know, that's sometimes frustrating when a client comes in and they say, wow, you know, mom or dad had these assets and, you know, we can't get to them, and what do we do? And we're confused, and then you've got to go through all the probate process and so on and so forth. So one of the major things you can do is adopt a living trust or irrevocable trust that streamlines all of those probatable assets, and that's sort of like a souped up will if you think about it.
And then will on steroids.
Yes, and then along those lines, within the structure or the framework of that, you can do some really crafty planning about how your children will get the money, and how, even with retirement accounts. A lot of people don't know that, but with retirement accounts, you can have named non-spouse beneficiaries and maintain the integrity of the tax deferral of a retirement account, while at the same time having it fall under the purview of a trust or with a named trustee to look out for the safety and well-being of a child or a younger person who may not be as responsible yet. And or it could be an incredible amount of wealth, and you're just thinking to yourself, wow, I want to protect my son or my daughter against divorce, creditor, or libelous claims. You know, it could be, you know, that you know, one of your children has the best of intentions in an investment project, and it goes awry, and the next thing you find out is that the banks the banks are going to go to where the money is. And then they come and they find out that little Susie or Johnny, who's in their 20s or 30s, has all this money, and they didn't even really have anything to do with the project. Maybe it was their spouse,
sure,
but it's their money that's going to go to the bank. Sometimes by having it in trust, you can really prevent that type of thing. I think also, you know, there are some interesting tools. A lot of people have enjoyed significant capital gains over the last few years, and there are ways that you can defer gains through trust planning and diversify your holdings without triggering a taxable event. And so these are all things that we are constantly looking at and working with our clients to try to manage that tax liability, manage or mitigate risk through taxes, market risk, while at the same time maintaining liquidity needs, or certainly going to the next generation through divorce, creditor, or libelous claims. And so trust planning is a critical part of that. And again, the landscape has shifted, and so for people who haven't looked at it lately, they need to get in with a professional and really analyze their current situation, particularly if they haven't done it in the last 5 years.
Good. We appreciate that. And just remember this, if you look into that crystal ball, you can look into the future and find out, is everything going to be great in the family? If it's not, a trust can make sure that everything stays equitable. And we'll be right back right after this.